Just kidding.
So tell me more about what elementary school was like for you.
Yeah, excellent question. Being at a point, I'm really starting to acclimate myself back into society, back into school. I remember that I started out in the third grade. I started school in the third grade, meaning I missed kindergarten, I missed pre-K, I missed first and second year of elementary school. So I actually started off late in the third grade. I was able to crawl my way through the third grade. But then when I got to fourth grade, I went through it. But also coming up were hospital visits and transfusions. So I wasn't really consistent. It was a very inconsistent year for me. And due to it being an inconsistent year, my mom talked to my teacher, and in turn my teacher suggested that not only do they put me into special ed, but before doing that, they had to gauge where I was at academically, and learning math, English, and so on. And so the teacher recommended I go to a psychologist to just really see where I am, what I'm doing, how I'm doing. And so I did go to a psychologist. And like the doctor, the psychologist also ran tests and did a lot of high-tech tests.
So now you moved on from elementary school, going to junior high and high school. You start to experience, growing up, adolescence and things like that. I think middle school can be a very tough time. Kids start to develop in their own mindsets and perspectives. And how was that for you?
I think for me, at this point of transitioning from elementary to middle school, I was so overwhelmed by just graduating elementary school and completing that stage of my life. I don't think I was too ready, or I didn't pay too much attention to going into middle school and doing what other kids are doing on the first day, wearing like their newest get up, their clean shoes and stuff like that. I wasn't focused on that. I was focused on, so how am I going to make it past today? With having sickle cell, with being the new fish in the big pond now, I really quickly had to make that transition of an elementary school mindset to, oh, you're gonna have kids that are bigger, stronger. Now they're gonna be picking on you. Now you have to make sure you hear Miss Nag's voice in your back of your mind saying that you can't do it, when you have partially the whole world out there telling you that you can't do it. Miss Nag's voice is in the back of my neck saying like, I can do it. Stop, focus, keep walking, is what I always used to tell myself. And I remember middle school and high school very distinctly. I remember when I was in middle school, I always dreaded report card days, because I knew that I was doing my best, but my best at that time was D's and fails, and I would be surprised if I got a C, I would be, I got a C. I wouldn't expect to get a C. So those are the kind of things that were in my mind that I was worried about at that time. And I can tell you at this point that I crawled past that finish line. I literally, like, I was on my elbows, stomach, crawling past the middle school finish line. And high school was not any different. Just the work had got a little bit more intense. The bullies had gotten bigger, stronger, and now they were actually saying it to your face instead of saying it behind your back. So
you experienced a great deal of bullying in high school?
I did, believe it or not. I was really, I really experienced a tremendous amount of bullying. To the point where high school, every day I went home crying. And I mean literally every day, starting from 9th to 11th grade. I remember every day. Not a day went by that I didn't go home.
Was there a certain person? Was there like, or was there just always somebody new? It was always something that's happening, or did you have just one particular person that just seemed to target you for some reason?
I think that person was ignorance. And for me, it just wasn't one person. I think just looking at me and seeing how different I am from everybody else. At this point, people were going out and playing, going out and having fun, going to the movies. And at this point, I was 10 years old. I was around 14, 15 years old. And this was during this era was during the era of when I went to school on Monday. I went to school Monday through Friday. And on Friday night by 7 o'clock, I was checked into the hospital. I had an IV in me and I was getting my treatment for sickle cell. I would start on Friday night and I would go all throughout the weekend till Monday morning at 5 a.m. was when I was discharged to catch the bus at 6:30 in the morning to go to school again. And I started doing this when I was 9 years old. And I stopped when I was 19. So for a good decade, I went through this routine of school, home, treatment over the weekend, and just doing all that. And socially, psychically, it really played a big role in my psyche, the way I felt about myself, the way I saw other people, other kids having the weekends to themselves, doing what they want to do on the weekends. And I think for me, the biggest thing that comes to mind, I was jealous. And I wanted to be part of the in crowd. I wanted to be part of, oh, you're going to play soccer? That's wonderful. Are you coming? No, I can't, because this is my priority. This is where I am. Weekends are reserved for this. And so you had friends. You had friends in high school that you would talk to that would invite you out to places that you could go, but you just couldn't really be a part of that unless it was like after school. Yeah, I couldn't be a part of it even after school, because after school I went and I was preparing to go to the hospital. I would always start preparing around 5. I'll be dropped off at 6, and by 7:30 I'd be checked in. So it was not unless a friend came over right after school or came home with me after school, then we were able to play for an hour and a half of playtime on Friday.
If you had advice to give to a younger, not self, but a younger someone like you that has experienced similar, sickle cell, similar, run-ins at the hospital, similar bullying, similar, what wisdom you think you've gained, and what could you share with, someone watching with some of that kind of age group, a younger self?
Me personally, kind of going through these different stages of grief, hurt, and isolation. Grief, hurt, isolation, and sometimes letdowns from others. I would say in every of those situations, you have to show up to grow up. And I think in every of those situations, somehow, some way, I did fulfill that quote. Showing up and growing up. I did fulfill that quote. I think for if you're at an age where you're not understanding what's going on or being bullied at that, I think you have to really just look at it and tell yourself that it's my life and it's God who's looking at me. Do I want to disappoint God, or do I want to give in to what's going on? And also, I feel that growing up, there were always times that I looked at myself and I thought about quitting. But those times, you can have those times, but quitting cannot be in your dictionary. You have to have the mindset of persevering. I'm someone who can rise above. And always tell yourself that this life that I'm living right now is temporary. This stage that I'm going through is temporary. This hour that I'm going through is temporary. This second, this minute, this second they're all temporary. You will eventually grow to an age where you like what you're doing. You like the situation that you're doing. You want to be in this situation. You want to have friends that are A, B, and C. Friends that are in your life that no matter what you go through, they'll tell you what is really true. They'll tell you not what your itching ears want to hear, basically. They'll tell you that, girl, boy, that outfit's not right for you. You need to go and change. They'll tell you things like that. They'll have your back when you're going through tough times. They'll be the only one in there with you in the hospital when you get a broken leg. They'll be the one that are driving you to the hospital. They'll be the one that makes sure they'll advocate for you when you can't advocate for yourself. And friends like that, I can tell you from experience, are very rare to come by. I know this personally because I know God has put people in my life that today, if I'm gone, that I would want them buried beside me, because those people that I can't live without, and they know they can't live without me. God has also put people in my life to learn from, to see that's not what I want to do. I know that's what you're doing, but that's not what I want to do. That's not the route I want to go. And I think for those people, they kind of let you in on, okay, so I've done it this way. Now let me do it the right way. And for those, it may take longer, but you'll always get back to the golly way of how to do things. And
So, childhood was not easy, obviously, from what you shared with us. It was definitely, sounds like a really challenging childhood, but you had, spots and lights of inspiration there, right? We talked about. You said that a lot of that was temporary.
yeah,
Right? So you must have had dreams, you must have had aspirations, life must have gotten better, right? Life must have changed somewhat. I'm assuming the bullying stopped.
yes.
I'm assuming life has changed for you. So tell us more about your dreams, what you've become, what you're still dreaming about, what you've accomplished. I heard earlier you talked about a degree, so talk to us about some of those things.
Yes.
You don't have to put that. He doesn't want
Just kidding.